Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up and lean in because what I'm about to share could very well be the turning point you've been waiting for. For months, we've listened to whispers, seen glimpses, and felt the tension build. Now, the floodgates appear to be opening. The moment we've been anticipating has drawn near. Live rates for the Iraqi Dinar are appearing on multiple exchange systems, and dedicated centers are coming online. That's right, we're talking about the possibility of a global reset in motion. Stay with me, because by the end of this broadcast, you'll understand precisely what's happening, why it matters, and how it could impact you. This isn't just speculation, the signs are everywhere. Let's dive in. Today, we're looking at what seems to be the culmination of years of reform in the banking and currency systems of Iraq. And yes, some of you are seeing the early evidence already. We're seeing rate visibility for the Iraqi dinar, and we're hearing reports that exchange centers are switching on. Let me break it down. When a currency that was previously inactive or tightly controlled begins to appear on banks' rate screens, and when the number of operational redemption or exchange centers increases, that signals a shift, a system under the hood is being activated. The mechanics, the infrastructure, the clearing networks, they've been quietly moving, and now they're reaching a visible tipping point. Let's step back for a moment and consider the broader context. The world is not static. Global financial systems evolve. Countries rebuild, reform, and reposition themselves. The nation of Iraq is on one such path. We're seeing references to upgraded digital platforms, alignment with international payment networks, compliance initiatives, and an improved monetary system. When you pair all of that with reports of new rate visibility and live exchange centers, a pattern emerges, one consistent with a major currency revaluation or global reset scenario. The question becomes, are we witnessing a rewrite of the status quo? In the midst of all this, what does rate visibility really mean? It means that internal bank systems, those used for international settlements, are showing live quotes for the Iraqi dinar. It means that a currency once sidelined is now being treated like a tradable asset. This is a major shift. It hints that back-end platforms such as foreign exchange ledgers, interbank settlement systems, global payment rails are now connected to the dinar in a way they weren't before. When you see such activation, it suggests we're no longer in the rumor phase, we're in the preparation phase and possibly the execution phase. Now, let's talk about the exchange centers. These aren't your typical bank branches, these are specialized facilities, often separate from everyday retail banking, set up to handle the heavy lifting of currency redemption, high-value exchanges, private rooms, trained staff, anti-counterfeit verification, security protocols. According to insiders, these centers are being made operational, with staff training completed and systems tested. When a country sets up these kinds of mechanisms, it's not small change. It indicates readiness for major currency movement. And when you combine that with live rate indicators, you're seeing the infrastructure of change being revealed in real time. You might ask, why now? What triggers this cascade of activity? A combination of factors, really. One is internal reform. Central banks upgrading digital platforms, anti-money laundering systems, embedding the currency into global trade platforms. Another is external pressure. Global financial institutions, clearing networks, and major banks demanding compliance, connectivity, transparency. When a country meets these preconditions, global doors open. And apparently, according to the reports we're seeing, the National Bank of Iraq has ticked many of those boxes. So what once was hype is now creeping into reality. Given all this, the critical question becomes, what next? For the public, for the holders of the Iraqi dinar, for the believers, this is the moment that demands clarity. You've heard rumors, you've seen hopes, you've waded through skepticism and doubt. Now you're at a threshold. Either things jump forward or they stall. The visible signs we're seeing suggest an imminent jump forward. But even with visibility, it doesn't mean an immediate walk-in and exchange scenario for everyone yet. There are still steps to come, notifications to be sent, public announcements to be made, but we're closer than ever. Let's examine the mechanics of what has to happen behind the scenes. First, the central bank must finalize its digital ledger for the currency. Second, the currency needs to be connected to the global payment and settlement networks. Third, domestic exchange. Centers and financial institutions need to turn live with the currency once just dormant. Fourth, rate visibility appears in internal systems of banks worldwide. Fifth, a public release. According to the updates we're getting, at least the first four appear to be happening in parallel. That suggests the final step is nearing. Now, what about the parallel case of another currency? Some reports suggest that similar mechanics are underway with the Vietnamese dong, which would imply a broader global reset rather than just an isolated national event. If multiple smaller currencies are being primed for activation simultaneously, that speaks to larger systemic reforms in the global currency landscape. So, while our focus here is the Iraqi dinar, it's wise to keep an eye on the bigger picture. The resetting of multiple currencies could lead to a realignment of global financial flows and investment strategies. It's critical to understand the emotional and strategic context, too. Many of you reading this aren't just casual currency traders, you're holders, long-term believers, often waiting years for something like this. While the timeline has been long, the patience is being tested. Today, you're seeing signs that vindicate that patience. But this is also a moment that demands caution. Big moves attract big risks, false starts, scams, misinformation. So, taking a disciplined approach matters. Observe, verify, and remain grounded even as the excitement builds. What should one do in the current phase? First, remain calm. Don't rush calls to your local bank expecting immediate exchange just yet. Many tellers won't have the information, and public rollout might still be days or weeks away. Secondly, get organized. If you're a holder of Iraqi Dinar, make sure your notes are in order, document your serial numbers, dates of acquisition, ask yourself if you have your rightful proof of purchase or ownership. Third, plan ahead for next steps. When the actual exchange rolls out, you'll want clarity. What will you do after conversion? Will you invest? Will you save? Will you give back? Mental preparation matters. Now, diving deeper, what do the internal rate screens really show? Not just a number, but a system that's live. When banks begin showing IQD as an active foreign currency rate, no longer as not available, that's a strong technical indicator. That suggests their forex engine has been updated, the currency is being quoted, placed in the system. Combine that with reports that banks in the US and Europe are receiving internal memos, prepping for big-ticket redemption volumes. These are not everyday signals, they suggest significant change in motion. Another layer to examine, the role of major banks. Reports suggest that US banks such as JP Morgan Chase & Co., Wells Fargo, Bank of America have been involved behind the scenes in simulations with Iraq's banking system. Why does that matter? Because the global clearing network is heavily interconnected. To integrate a currency like the dinar, big league banks and networks must complete testing, settlement protocols, compliance verifications. The fact that insiders report these tests happened suggests the groundwork is live and ready for go live. On the domestic side, inside Iraq, there are signals too. The National Central Bank, the Central Bank of Iraq, AER, has reportedly upgraded its digital platforms, anti-money laundering frameworks, removed internal zeros from its accounting in some characterization, and aligned with global standards. These reforms may have taken years, but when you combine them with rate visibility, you're seeing the final mile of a gig-scale infrastructure build that makes the current moment more credible. Let's talk about the global reset notion. The phrase global reset is often used loosely, but here it means something like this. We are entering a phase where old financial relationships, old currency valuations, old settlement systems are being recalibrated. For holders of currencies like the Iraqi dinar, seeing the system activate may mean their asset is transitioning from the sidelines into mainstream. This is not validation of every rumor, but the mechanics fit. A live rate, active exchange centers, major banks prepping that is far more concrete than vague speculation. However, let's stay realistic about the timeline and steps ahead. Even though signs are visible, the public exchange is not necessarily immediate for everyone. There may be phases. First, large value holders and institutional redeemers. Next, accredited investors. Then eventually public retail availability. Often, countries roll out in layered fashion to manage liquidity, security, compliance. So yes, treat this as the beginning of the activation rather than the end. The next few days or weeks could still hold surprises, delays, or additional announcements. Another important point, the relationship between visibility and value. Just because rate screens are showing does not automatically mean the public market value has soared overnight. Exchange rates often appear ahead of mass availability. The system being live is one thing. Full-scale access is another. As holders, you'll want to monitor official announcements, regulatory releases, public statements. Patience remains essential. Overeagerness may lead to misunderstandings or disappointments. Let's consider what this means for holders of the Iraqi Dinar. If you've acquired IQD notes thinking a revaluation would happen, you now may be on the cusp of that moment. What to do? Remain vigilant. Keep your records, keep your notes secure, track serial numbers, match any required documentation. Reach out to trusted advisors, financial professionals, and stay informed via reliable sources. Resist hype, avoid too good to be true offers. Because when big transitions occur, the risk of scams skyrockets. In addition, if you're a speculative investor or follow currency markets, this moment could open new avenues. A currency that was once sidelined is now being treated as active. That can spur interest, trading volumes, perhaps even speculative flows. But remember, currency markets are volatile, especially when instruments shift from being controlled to being tradable. Volume, liquidity, settlement mechanics all matter. Don't get caught in the excitement without maintaining risk discipline. Let's also talk about the significance of the public announcement that may follow. When the CBI or other official body publicly confirms the change, that marks the shift from infrastructure readiness to active participation. Announcement will likely trigger broad media coverage, bank memos, clients being notified en masse. Watch for official press releases, announcements from major banks, regulatory filings. Once you see that, your planning should kick into a higher gear. We must also acknowledge the global environment, inflation, debt, digital currencies, central bank reforms, they're all converging. Many analysts believe that smaller currencies, which were once isolated, may now be integrated into broader financial architectures, inclusive digital trade platforms, interbank networks, replacement of cash-heavy systems. The Iraqi dinar appears to be part of that wave. So this isn't just a domestic event, it may be part of a multi-nation recalibration in a shifting global order. Before I wrap up, let's discuss possible obstacles. Even with systems live, there could be regulatory delays, liquidity constraints, internal policy decisions, or geopolitical factors that disrupt full rollout. There's no guarantee that everything will move at full speed. Holders must be prepared for patience, possible wait times, official windows, designated redemption centers. Staying grounded and pragmatic is key. In conclusion, we are at a critical junction. The rate, visibility, and exchange center activation for the Iraqi dinar suggests we're nearing the moment when the silent machinery becomes public reality. For years, the idea of revaluation and activation sat on the fringes of hope and rumor. Now the signs are tangible. Whether you're a holder, a believer, or simply an observer of global financial change, you're witnessing a possible chapter in a larger story. Stay ready, be wise, verify your facts, organize your position, because when the green light truly hits, the momentum will move fast. Thank you for tuning in today. Keep your eyes open, stay connected to trusted updates, and keep your plan at the ready. This might just be the moment we've all been waiting for.